Hello and welcome to the 33rd episode of Rachel Pilcher Writing Workshops Live. Thank you for joining me today. It was a beautiful day today. If any of you have been able to get out and enjoy it, I hope you have. I mowed my yard, which means I have the normal stuffy, eyes-watering, slight headache thing going, so it's good though. The yard looks really great, so it's always worth doing the yard work. Today I wanted to remind you that coming up on July the 27th, I have the honor of being the keynote speaker at the UTA Writers Symposium. For more information about that, you can click on the speaking engagement section of rachelpilcherwritingworkshops.com. So today, I wanted to talk to y'all a bit about the topic at hand, which is when curiosity works against writers. Now, I have to say, for most people, especially writers, curiosity is what draws us to write. So for it to work against us, it has to do several things. So curiosity is very normal. In a writer, like I said, it leads to some really great things. It leads to excellent stories. It leads to ideas. It leads to research. It leads to all kinds of wonderful things that make the writers extremely productive. But it can also lead writers down a rabbit hole of distraction, of inactivity, of just plain not really being busy, but being busy on your writing. So here are several instances in which curiosity can work against a writer, and hopefully some solutions that can help you out of those distractions. So first, digital interference. That is probably the number one thing now for most people that ends up being a distraction, but yet it's a curiosity. We always want to know, what's going on in the world today, who said what, what's the latest tweet from Trump, So it's one of those things, though, that if you end up checking more than you should, it can completely distract you from being able to get any of your work done. Phone calls, all kinds of stuff. So solution on how to fix that. Turn your phone off. That's one thing. If you can't turn your phone off, one of the things I do, it was one of the things I discovered that works really well with my iPhone. And some of you who call me and then you find out, oh, she's calling me later after I leave a message. It's because I go in on, especially for my phone calls and with all of the telemarketing scam calls that you get now, I've gone in and selected favorites. So I have like my mom and my dad, my work, a couple of other people that I work with that it's very important if they call that I get their phone calls. I have them listed as my favorites, and everybody else, it just gets ignored. That's one way to keep the phone calls from bothering me. And I find I end up getting 20 to 25, 30 calls a day, of which, maybe 5 of them are actually necessary. So that helps. You can also turn off all of the alerts on any of the apps that you have. So if you have, especially on Facebook and Instagram, so-and-so commented on this post, anything like that, turn off all those alerts. That way, if you're sitting there and you have your phone beside you and, you have a habit of glancing over at it, it's not going to tell you that those alerts have even happened. So definitely do that. If you need to use your phone, if you feel like you absolutely have to have it there, use it as a timer. And I know I've said this before, your phone works as an excellent timer to be able to tell you, I need to work for this long until the timer goes off. I can't do anything. I can't look at Facebook. I can't do any of that stuff. So, get that digital interference and make it work for you, or turn it off. The next is something that I know I have several friends that are just big on, the latest programs that you can do. So, they're too curious about new programs. So, organizational tools, productivity apps, different ways, different programs that you can use to make your writing better, easier to use. So, Sometimes getting into those, though, you spend so much time learning those organization tools and learning those new programs that it takes away from your ability to write the way you need to. So the solution for that, what were you doing before those tools came along? That's the solution. I mean, it sounds so simple, but it's the solution. Whatever it was you were using before, use that because it worked for you. And if you're new to writing and you're like, well, what if I need that? I have found that the best tool to be productive in my writing is to put it on the schedule, set a timer if I need to, and sometimes I don't need to. I can just, go into my office, which is my office, and shut the door and work, and I get things done. I don't use any special writing program. I use for my regular writing, so short stories, poetry, anything like that, I use Word. For screenwriting, that's the only time I do use a program because everything is so specific about how your screenplay has to be formatted, so I use Final Draft for that. But that's it. And there's nothing to learn about Final Draft, really. It's just, it just sets it up and you go and you do the writing. So any of those new programs, unless you think it is the game changer that's going to fix everything for you, do not use it. Just do what works for you. The next one, you become too curious in the research stage. So this is where you end up chasing rabbits. I have a friend that has been working on a novel for 2 years, and she constantly gets delayed because she spends so much time digging and digging and digging and digging into the research and finding more information and more information and more information that it keeps her from being able to get her writing actually done. So, don't push it. The next great thing, that is the next great thing. But if you have great information that you can use for your story or for your research that you're doing, use that and go with that. And finish your draft. And if it turns out that you find more information between drafts that you want to put in, great, that works. But the ideal is finish your draft. Finish your first draft, get that done. The next is you become too curious about writing techniques or forms. So maybe you revise way too much. You just keep revising and keep revising and keep revising. And if you listen to my last Facebook Live, then you know that really there's no need to continuously revise. 6 to 7 drafts is probably enough for you. Don't continue to tweak a certain section over and over and over again. Get it to the point to where it works really well. Have other people read it. Have that, get their opinion on it. But don't continuously revise until you've revised so much that, one, it's either not going to be what you originally intended it to be, or you don't ever complete it. So just stick with what you have, and then work on that. So, and that's a tricky one because I know painters, I know digital photographers that go in and do editing on their photographs. I know many other writers that the idea is the work is never complete. The work is never perfect. But at some point, it has to be okay. So, revising is important. Over revising never gets it completed. So just make sure that you are doing what you can and then stop it from there. So, the fifth one and the final one for tonight is you get curious about what other writers are doing, and then you start comparing yourself to those writers and to their success. So, and trying to figure out, well, how did they do that? How did this work? How did that work? What can I do that's like what they do? This might make you jealous. It may throw off your work. It may, hopefully not, put into your mind that, well, I'm never going to be as good as them, so I might as well just stop, because, you know, I mean, you're not going to know until you complete. So you need to make sure that you don't work at comparing yourself to other people and other writers. One of the things that I do whenever I start feeling like I am comparing myself too much to other people is, you know, I get my journal out and I just write, you know, the way I'm feeling about it. And then at some point I question myself, and I'm like, well, you know, what does it matter? Because their writing is different than my writing. It always is going to be. So don't fall into the hole of comparisonitis. So don't look at somebody else's success, maybe even somebody that you know, and say, well, they're doing well, why can't I? And then fall down that hole. So if you found the information helpful tonight, please make sure to click like right over there in the corner, and feel free to share this video with others who you think may benefit from my advice. Also, if there is a topic that you are interested in me exploring with all of y'all, feel free, for a future episode, feel free to either mention it in the comments below, or you can send me a message via Rachel Pilcher Writing Workshops Facebook page, or you can email me at rachel@rachelpilcher.com. Finally, I would like to take a moment to remind some of y'all that I do creativity mentoring. My calendar has opened up quite a bit, and I am currently taking on some new clients. So if you're interested in finding out more about creativity mentoring and the topics that I have worked with writers with in the past, please head on over to rachelpilcherwritingworkshops.com and click on Creativity Mentoring for more information. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. Join me again in 2 weeks on Sunday, July 28th. That's going to be the day after I do the keynote at the UTA Writer Symposium, which I hope to see some of y'all there. So join me, though, on that Sunday for another writerly discussion on the Rachel Pilcher Writing Workshops page. Thank you. Have a good evening.